All right. Welcome, everybody. And for those that watch this later, I'm Jason Hull with DoorGrow, and this is my wife, Sarah, with DoorGrow. We are the owners and operators of DoorGrow, and we are going to be talking about today how to diagnose the front end leaks and challenges with your sales pipeline. We're going to talk about why getting leads may not be the issue. And a lot of times people think that they just need more leads in their business. And what I'm going to show you today is that it may not be a leads issue. It may be that your sales pipeline is having some issues. What's up, Rusty? Good to have you. All right. Rusty's one of our clients. All right. So we're going to diagnose the front end sales pipeline for existing clients that watch this. This is stuff that we tackle in our rapid revamp class that we get dialed in. But I want to help you figure out, here is how to assess how your business is doing so that you can make better decisions. Because if you can't see a problem, then you'll keep operating with this blind spot, and you'll keep wasting money on the wrong things. So I'm going to share my my iPad, because people tend to like when I draw stuff, and I want everyone to see how amazing of an artist I am. Just kidding. All right, so let's how do I do this? Share advanced iPad. All right. All right. Can everybody see this? Somebody say yes. Where? I can't see your faces. I got to go back.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. So, all right, there we go. Let me make sure I have your faces on my screen, and I've got my iPad. All right. So, can I shrink this? All right, there we go. Okay. There. All right, cool. So let's get in this. So we're going to be talking about how to diagnose, right? We're going to talk about diagnosing in the medical industry, right? If you're diagnosing a problem, they're like trying to figure out what the problem actually is. And the problem, if we don't know what the problem actually is, if we're not getting enough leads or deals in our business, then what happens is we spend a lot of time, energy, focus, cash, effort on the wrong things, right? And spending all of that, I call those the 5 currencies. If we spend those on the wrong things, then we're making bad decisions in our business. And we don't want to be doing that. So we need to know, what is the actual problem? And so I want you to be able to see your entire sales front end pipeline accurately. All right. What's up, Michael? Good to have you. All right. So let's get into this. So one of the key things, some of you see me draw this before, but let's figure out, where does leads fit, right? So we've got sort of a spigot here, right? I don't know if I'm drawing this very well, but this is, connected to maybe a hose. And my clients have seen me do something similar to this many times. And then, it's got an end to it. And then, like, hopefully we get some water coming out of it, is like the idea. So what is this? This is leads. This is lead gen. Leads are contact info, people that might be interested. And most businesses, they think, I just need more leads. If I just had more leads, all my hopes and dreams would come true. I would have so much more money, so many more doors, all this stuff. And so what do? They go out into the marketplace and say, hey, marketplace of people that can maybe get me leads, I need leads. And they're like, ha. The evil marketers are like, I will give you more leads and you will give me a whole bunch of money. And some of these leads are just absolute garbage, right? Because there's a difference between types of leads. And we won't go into this a whole bunch, but this is a fire. There's warm leads, and then there's cold leads, right? I'm going to try and draw a quick ice cube. All right, cold leads. Cold leads, just for perspective, have a 10% close rate typically, or worse. And the other big thing is they take a lot of time. Warm leads have usually a 90% close rate. This would be like word of mouth from a trusted friend, realtor, or something like this, right? And it takes very little time to close the deal, right? So time is a lot less. And this is important to recognize, because not all leads are equal. But regardless, any type of lead that you get, it's going to have to go through this hose and this pipeline. And so if we're going to focus on leads, and if you're curious about what are better sources of leads than doing cold lead advertising, and cold leads, just so people are clear, this would be stuff like SEO, pay-per-click, content marketing, social media marketing, anything internet marketing, pay-per-lead, stuff like that, like APM or something like that, right? This is all internet marketing. And the challenge with internet marketing is it really just gives you colder leads. And the best leads are not on the internet. The best ones are I'll say this a different way. Word of mouth captures the best stuff. And then the shitty scraps that fall off the word of mouth table are the ones searching on Google. And at that point, you're now a commodity and they're super price sensitive. Does everybody get this? That's the short, quick version. All right. And I've talked about this in other trainings. So let's now move on. So after we get leads and we turn on the faucet here and hose, we have leads coming in. Well, there's different leaks that exist in our pipeline. And at the other end here, this is where we get a deal, right? And over here, what are we trying to water? We're trying to water, this plant here that is our business, so that we can hopefully get some fruit. And so we need deals in order for this business to grow. That's the water, right? And we want deals to come out the other end of this. The problem is we put leads in and we have very little deals coming out the other end. There's a lot of inertia. There's a lot of loss. There's a lot of waste. And what are you wasting? I mentioned these before, but what you're wasting here in the puddle below the hose is time, energy, right? Like the amount of energy and you have in your life, right? That you can invest in this time, energy, focus, right? I'll do an eyeball here, focus, cash, and effort. I'm going to try and draw a big beefy bicep like my biceps here. Why are you laughing, Sarah? All right. So we've got time, energy, focus, cash, and effort, right? And these are what we have to invest in our business. And if we invest these incorrectly, we don't get a return. We end up drained. So we end up with less energy. We're drained in our business. We end up with less time. We end up with less focus. We're distracted. We're pulled in a lot of different directions. We end up with less money. We spend money to hopefully get an ROI. And if we don't, we're like losing money. And then effort, right? We could be spending a lot of effort and a lot of work, a lot of labor. Like we can physically get tired as well. And so we don't want to be wasting this. So there's different leaks. And if you can't see these, you go to marketers and you just keep spending money, then this can be really bad. And there's 6 major leaks. How many did I draw? All right, I drew too many. 6 major leaks that exist in the sales pipeline. So we're going to diagnose those today, and you're going to give yourself a score on where you think these are at. And if you have questions as we go through it, then I can help you assess this, right? Okay. So, the first we want to tackle is at the very outset of your sales pipeline is going to be branding. So I call this positioning because I like alliteration. And so we're going to do P words, positioning. Okay. So is your brand. So here's some questions to ask yourself. And I want you to grade this on a scale of 0, meaning it's like absolutely it's terrible, or 100% the leak is dialed in. Like it's awesome. Sorry. Cool. I'm like, what? Do I need to end already? She kicks me under the desk whenever we need to end. She accidentally kicked me under the desk.
That one was an accident.
That was an accidental one. You're freaking me out.
That's
I'm like, I
cue.
just started.
He's like, what?
Okay. So number 1. All right. So a couple of questions to ask yourself to figure out, where do we grade this on a scale of 0 to 100? 100 meaning it's perfectly dialed in, right? It's totally dialed in. So the first question is, does your name have realty or real estate in it? If so, I would decrease that by at least 30, maybe 50%, because now you're no longer a property management specialist to them. This is a big leak I see in a lot of companies, and it's had a big impact when we've corrected that. Is it generic to the location? For example, if you're in Phoenix, Arizona, is your name Phoenix Property Management? Is it generic to the industry? This is another big leak related branding. So for example, two of the biggest franchises connected to property management have the two worst generic brand names to the industry or to the category. Property Management Inc., it's generic to the category, and Real Property Management, very generic to the category. So it makes it difficult for people to remember. Neither of those brands have been able to dominate the industry. They're not like McDonald's for cheeseburgers, right? They just have not been able to eke out more market share. Is it unclear that it's property management? So maybe the names like Prestige Properties or Radiant Rentals, like, do they do bouncy houses? Do they, what kind of rentals, you know? So the next is, does it have an overly common name? So if you Google the name, are there 1,000 of these companies or a ton? So for example, if you Google Lighthouse Property Management, that is a very like overused name. There's tons of Lighthouse. So if you are trying to attract investors and people from outside your market and they're looking for your business, there's going to be a lot of different lighthouses and it can be really convoluted and confusing, right? And so branding can hurt the number one way of getting warm leads, which is word of mouth. It can, especially if you have a generic name or even worse, a misspelled name. So I want you to rate your branding based on this criteria. And if you are like, man, we have everything dialed, like all these dialed in, give yourself 100%. Okay. Maybe that's not your issue. Generally, we've rebranded almost every client that's come to us. And I know that sounds crazy and scary, but we don't force them to do it. They generally just do it because they can see that it's costing them money. And can you grow a business with bad branding or with branding off? Absolutely. Is it harder? Yes. Right. And so it's a leak, but if you shove enough water through this hose, it's still going to work. But it's a lot easier. There's a lot less problems if we take care of it. All right, everybody have your number. Give me, put your hand up if you got your number for step one. All right, Rusty. All right, cool. Gabriella, where's your hand? Are you with us? All right, there you go. All right. Good job. Okay. Now, next number two, we're going to get into perception. Perception. See if I can spell it. There we go. Perception, which is your reviews or reputation. Okay. So this is easy because the marketplace makes this very obvious. Your most significant score is going to probably come from Google. You can look at your Google reviews for your business listing. And do you have, what is your star rating? So if your star rating is, close to being a 5, then you may not have a leak on Google. But then there's also other channels, right? What about Yelp? Is another significant one, especially in the western half of the United States. The closer you get to the West Coast, the more significant Yelp can be. And Yelp also is used by every Apple device when looking at businesses. The Yelp reviews show up on Apple Maps and looking on Apple, which is the dominant phone in the US, right? So that can be pretty significant as well. So we want to look at Google, Yelp, Facebook reviews, and there's some other channels like City Search and some other things, maybe Thumbtack or whatever. There's a lot of different review sites. And so what is your general reputation online? So if you have a 3-star on Google, you may want to give yourself maybe somewhere closer like a 50% or something like that, because you're like halfway there, right? And it's probably worse than that, right? If you are 3 stars or less on Google, you're probably losing out on maybe 80 to 70% of the leads that you could be getting. Reviews are significant. People generally only want to work with 4 and 5-star companies. So if you're below 4 stars, then this can be a really big leak. And this is a solvable problem. You just need to build the right reputation engine into your business. And so here's what to look at. What are your ratings and number of reviews on maybe Yelp? What are your ratings and the number of reviews? Because it's review quantity also matters. If you have 5 reviews on Google, so you barely have a star rating, but you're 5 stars, you're not going to look the same as a 5-star company with 100 reviews or 200 reviews. And if you are the leader in terms of the number of reviews and how many reviews you have, in your market, then you probably have a pretty good score here. And so my goal for my clients is that they dominate their market in reviews, right? So what are your ratings and number of reviews on Facebook, and how do you compare to the competition in your local market? And do you have a review gathering process built into your onboarding process for new tenants and new owners? And if you don't, then this is not going to be a perfect score. So give yourself some sort of percentage score on this one. All right. So if you have your score, raise your hand. Is everybody with me? Who's got their score? All right. Cool. All right. Laura, we can't see your hand. You're like invisible. So, all right. So there you go. Perfect. She's got the emoji hand. All right. So, cool. The next step is going to be presence, right? So they've found your brand or heard about you. They've looked at maybe your online reviews, and now where are they going to lead to? Probably your website, right? This is your online presence. Okay. Now, I have developed an entire test on how to grade your website. So if you want to get a more accurate grade for this, and it will grade it on a scale of 0 to 100, go to DoorGrow. You can write this down.
Put it in the chat too here.
/quiz. This is our website quiz, and this will help you assess your website, not in terms of how cool does it look, but in terms of how good is it at making money. An ugly website that's good at making money is better than a website that looks amazing and beautiful and is brand new that is terribly optimized for getting conversions and creating trust. Okay. So, and I want to be clear, each of these leaks in your sales pipeline are just trust leaks. They erode trust if they're not dialed in. And sales and deals happen at the speed of trust. You can write that phrase down. Sales and deals happen at the speed of trust. And so we want to decrease all of the leaks that prevent people from trusting us, because property management is not a business of selling property management. It is a business of selling safety and certainty and peace of mind, trust. Does this make sense? If you spend your time on sales calls trying to sell property management, you will not have as high of a close rate as if you are selling them on why they should trust you. Make sense? Okay. And these are leaks that prevent people from trusting you even enough to even have a conversation with you or ever reach out. Nobody will ever call you up and say, oh, I didn't go with you because you're a real estate company. That's what it looked like. Oh, I didn't go with you because your review sucked. I just wanted to call you and let you know. They won't call you and let you know if your website doesn't convince them that they should fill out a form or convert and become a lead, right? So you'll just never know. So these first three are massive blind spots. Some businesses go out of business just because of these first three. 90% of all businesses fail in the first 5 years. 50% fail in the first year. And then countless more never even get started because they just don't have the guts to do it, right? Okay. All right. So we've got the website. So if you want to grade, you can go to that. I'm going to cover just a couple of major pieces, right? Does your site have a clear, large headline at the top that says that you manage rental properties and in what market? Does the headline mention the area that you serve? Does the website mention both property management and real estate? Because if it's also real estate oriented, it's being diluted and distracted to a whole nother target audience. It's completely irrelevant. And usually if they do both, the website's primarily focused on real estate, right? So if it's primarily focused on real estate, you're losing out on a lot of money related to property management. Does the menu have 5 menu items or less in the main menu? If there's more than 5 main menu items in your menu, conversion rates have been proven to decrease on a website. One of those menu items should be contact, and one of those menu items probably should be pricing or something like that. But these are some of the most high traffic pages. But you want to make sure you have 5 menu items or less. Do you have a clear lead capture form on your homepage and on all your major landing pages that people enter the site? Is there an obvious reason for them to be motivated to reach out to you and for you to capture a lead? Because if you don't have the ability for them to capture a lead, to give you their info on the page, then what are they going to do? Pick up the phone and call you? A little less likely. Jump through a bunch of hoops and hurdles and beg for you to reach out to them? Probably not, right? We want to make this easy. Do you have trust symbols on your page? Because it's about trust. These would be things like a NARPM logo, a Better Business Bureau logo, these type of things, right? Local Chamber of Commerce. Are there some organizations that vouch for you that you can use visually so quickly? They're more likely to fill out the form, right? Because you can create more trust. Is your domain name easy to give out and to get to and easy to spell? I once had a client come to me and their their domain name and their business name was like something like built for sell something, and like it was a digit, and like it's just really bad, right? Does it pass the phone test, right? Isn't it easy to give out the domain name? Is your pricing listed on your website? That's been proven to increase conversion rates significantly. Okay. And there's a lot more. There's a lot more. And if you go through the DoorGrow website quiz, you'll get an insight there. And yes, we do help rebuild and redo websites. We do websites for our clients to shore up that leak. And I believe we build the best, highest converting websites in the industry. Okay. The next thing is pricing. So pricing is a massive blind spot in this industry. And the reason the blind spot exists is because most pricing is set based on the coldest, shittiest, worst prospects in the industry. And it's created this weird race to the bottom. There's this unnatural scarcity that exists between companies that are all trying to do internet marketing to get clients, because that's a hard game to play. And there's very little search volume. There's not very many people searching for property management on the internet. And so what it does is it creates this false, overinflated competition. And everybody starts this race to the bottom in terms of pricing, because they're all focused on the coldest, shittiest, worst prospects that are the most difficult to manage and deal with as owners. I call them the cheapos. And so you don't want to be that commodity. You don't want to be caught up in the race to the bottom, but that's where everybody gets this 10% pricing or worse, or they come up with these flat fee models that are like $99 or worse. And so if your pricing is typical to everybody else, then you're definitely not 100%, just letting you know. Okay. And you might think, well, that's what everybody does. Yeah. And most property management businesses suck. Who would agree that most of their competitors in their market sucks? By show of hands. Yeah. Everyone raises their hand every time I ask this question, no matter how big the group is. Most property management companies suck. Laura raises her hand too. All right. Most property management businesses suck. And there's a reason for that. None of you wake up in the morning and go, I want to start a shitty property management company today, right? That never happened. Same thing for all of them. The reason they suck, one of the big reasons is all these leaks, but a big one is they're not getting paid enough. And when you're not making enough money and you're not growing like regularly and fast enough, the first thing to go if you don't have cash flow is customer service. It's just not what it could be. And we've all been there in our businesses. We all know what that means, what that feels like, right? And so if you're charging a typical, 10% or less, or a flat fee, and you're not the most expensive in your market, or you're not at least at the very top of your market, if you're not charging a leasing fee, and your competitors are, you're charging less than the biggest companies in your market for a leasing fee, or do you have also, do you have 3 different plans? Most of you only have one. You're like, this is our fee. There's 3 different types of buyers psychologically. I mentioned the cheapos. There's also the normals and the premiums. And if you gear your pricing towards the cheapos, you're leaving so much money on the table. And you could have different plans that are more appealing to different types of buyers. We get into that in much greater detail in our pricing secrets training and in coaching our clients. Rusty and Michael, you probably both have altered your pricing significantly since joining the program. Yes. Yeah. And it's probably helping you make a lot more money, a lot more easily, and close deals more easily. Accurate? Michael's thinking about it. He wants to.
It's easier to close deals that here's the menu, pick A, B, or C, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a little more strategy and psychology to it than even just that. But yeah, it's price anchoring, Goldilocks principle. There's a lot of rules that we go over, and it just makes it a lot more effective to close deals at a higher price point. Cool. So if you don't have 3 different plan options, then also score that even lower, right? And then where do you rank and compare to your competition? Are you higher, lower, or about the same, right? So you can score related to that. And is it easy to understand and compare if you do have multiple options, or to compare you to your competition, and that sort of thing. So go ahead and rate your pricing. I would say if you don't have 3 plans and you're typical 10%, then I would give yourself maybe a 50%. You're not awful, but you don't have a competitive advantage. So you're right in the middle. And if your pricing is the same as all your competitors, then it's hard for them to distinguish you from your competition. You look like everybody else, right? And I believe there's more ethical pricing. And so that I believe it's easier to sell against and point out why a typical percentage or flat fee is not ethical in this industry. It's not as ethical as what we teach 3-tier hybrid model. Okay, the next after pricing is purpose. This is the most important thing that I think I teach any of my clients, is to help them figure out what their purpose is and what the purpose of their business is, because this goes into everything in the business. And when I see companies that struggle and get stuck in the 200 to 400 door range, I call that the team sand trap. It's often because purpose was never clearly defined by the business owner and for the team, and what the business should be. And so they've ended up building a business around the business instead of around the entrepreneur. And this is where the team becomes a hindrance, and where they're always asking all the questions. And then they're like, and you're thinking, why won't my team just think for themselves, instead of your life becoming easier as you add more doors? And so purpose, really everything in the business aligns around purpose. How you sell, how your team works, everything aligns around purpose. And so here's some questions related to purpose. Are you, as a business owner, are you clear on your personal motivations beyond money, your personal why? What drives you to do everything that you do in your life? That little piece of clarity will change everything in your life and everything in your business. When I got clear on that, I fired like half my team many, many years ago. And I stopped working with clients I didn't enjoy working with, because I knew why I was doing what I was doing. Business why. Are you clear on your business's motive? What is your business's why? What drives, why does the business exist? Partially, it should be to serve you and help you get your why. And your why is not to make money. Your why is why you want money. It's going to be related to having more freedom, more fulfillment, more sense of contribution, more support. That's why we start businesses. We don't start businesses just to make money. We want what money can give us. And you can create a business that makes more and more money, but gives you less and less fulfillment, less and less freedom, less and less support, less and less contribution. I call those 4 reasons. You can become more and more miserable. That's not why we start businesses, is become more and more miserable. But you can make more. Everybody agree you can make more and more money and be more and more miserable in your business. Yes, I've done it. I know it's possible. Okay. That's not the goal, right? And if you get the business in alignment around your purpose, you will make way more money, way more easily. Does this make sense? Way more money. And if you align the business and the team around you and your why, and the business's why, and you get the right people aligned with that, you will get probably 3 times the output from your existing team members, which is your biggest expense typically in a business. Does this make sense? 3 times the output. It's significant. This is another reason why property management businesses struggle to be profitable, and why we can get clients over 50% profit margin. But we can't do it without getting this piece dialed in. So purpose. So some questions related to purpose are, do you have 3 or 4 core values defined, or do you have a whole bunch more? If you have more than 3 or 4, your values really mean nothing. Are your team members aware of these values, right? Do you showcase these values to your potential clients, right? Do you have a clearly defined client-centric mission statement for the team and for the business? Is the mission of the business clear? Is it clear on who you are trying to serve? Or is it just like investors? We talk about, when helping people define their client-centric mission statement, when I work with my clients and coach them on this, I talk about the evil genie. The evil genie you've ever seen in movies always gives the people what they ask for, but it's the shittiest, worst version of it, right? Like, I want to be rich. Like, cool, you're Pablo Escobar and the world's trying to kill you because you're a drug dealer, right? But you have tons of money, right? So the evil genie, you have to win against the evil genie in getting this stuff defined so that you have it's very clear on who you want to serve and who you want to go after, how you want to help them, and the impact and the change you want to create in the industry and in the world. And so we want to create a vision, a bigger picture, because the more visionary you are and the more visionary your material is for your team, the better the outcomes you're going to get. The more inspired your potential clients are going to be to work with you, because you have a vision that's bigger than just extracting dollars from their wallets. Okay. Do you have a CEO decision-making guide to share with your team? Do you have something in between just your values and your SOPs, so for them to actually think and make decisions the way you would want them to think and make decisions? If not, there's a big gap in what you're going to get from your team members, right? So this is all the stuff we tackle in our Purpose Secrets stuff and the stuff we do in the Rapid Revamp with clients. All right. Rusty, Michael, you guys, oh, and Andrew's here. What's up, Andrew? We don't see you, but your anchor is cool. You've gotten a lot of these things dialed in, correct? Yeah. It's been significant for you, I would imagine, right? So, and this goes into the next item, which is your pitch. So you need the purpose stuff to have a really effective pitch, because an effective sales pitch and effectively getting people to, close deals with you in your pipeline involves you connecting them with your purpose and connecting it to their purpose, like what they want. So do you have clearly defined, so to rate all right, everybody have their scores for everything leading up to this on a scale of 0 to 100? Write them down. Make sure you have your scores. Okay, cool. You've got purpose. So if it's a little fuzzy, if it's not clear to your team, if you're not even sure why you do what you do, or which things give you life in your day to day, maybe that's not 100%, right? And so if we can get you clarity there, it will change everything. Okay. So if you don't have all that stuff defined that I mentioned, give yourself 50% or worse. Okay. Pitch. Let's get into pitch. Do you have a clearly defined sales pipeline stages? Have you defined what are the different stages they go through in order to become a customer? Are these clearly defined, and are they built out in your CRM, right? Clearly defined, right? Like maybe there's a fit call, there's a triage, there's like a pitch call, and then maybe, a closing call, etc. Right? Do you have your stages clearly defined? Do you have a sales CRM to track deals and keep organized, or are you just like winging it? Do you have Post-it notes? Do you are you using a spreadsheet? That's like a little bit better. Or do you have a sales pipeline where you're keeping track of these deals, keeping notes on what you said last time, keeping track on where they're at in the process, that keeps track of your emails, your notes, and your phone calls with these potential prospects? I guarantee if you do not have this, you're getting half the amount of deals and leads you could be to move through your pipeline. Okay. So do you have a sales CRM that you're actually using? And if you have any team members helping you with this, like a sales setter, appointment setter, an assistant, a VA, somebody doing follow-up, getting appointments booked, whatever, or a BDM or anything like this, a business development manager. If you don't have a CRM, the communication between the two of you is going to be abysmal, right? There's no way to assign them tasks or to see what each other have done, and you're going to step on each other's toes, or things will fall through the cracks all the time. So sales CRM. Next question. Do you have sales scripts? Do you have scripts for each stage? Like, what does your fit call look like? What is your, this triage call, like when you're triaging them or diagnose their issues? What is your call? What does your script look like in how you pitch? Do you have a 4-phase selling pitch like we teach, for example? And do you know generally what you're supposed to be saying on this and what the outcomes are and the intention and the goals for each stage to move them forward? Or do you just get on a call and answer questions and wing it? There's a lack of intention there, and there's going to be a lack of results, right? Do you have visuals or a pitch deck so that they can absorb information more easily, right? Me drawing this out makes it a lot easier for you. If I just talked at you this whole time, you would not be able to digest all of this as easily, right? And so do you have some visuals that help some of these more complicated things you may talk about become more clear, so that you can showcase? So it could be a pitch deck, it could be slides, it could be doing drawings like me. I use both. Do you have a pricing sheet that goes over your different plans, different options, what's included, what's not, so that they can more easily make a decision and pick? You can hand to them. Do you have your golden bridge defined, which I categorize as your personal why, which we talked about, your business why, and then your prospects why? So are you creating this golden bridge of connection, which is the fastest way to create trust quickly in your sales process? Do you know how to uncover their true motivations and showcase your true motivations beyond just wanting them to pay you? If not, the default assumption in sales is you just want my money. And you're probably even willing to be unethical in order to get it from me. That's people's default assumption when they talk to a salesperson, right? They want my money and they might be slimy. I don't know yet. We have to counter that by creating goodwill and creating trust and leveraging empathy, right? And so this is where we need to showcase our motivations. This is where we build the golden bridge. And this is where purpose really has to go into our pitch. Okay. So if you don't have the purpose really well done, and the pitch probably also isn't really well dialed in. And if you don't have your pricing really well dialed in, your pitch probably isn't also really well dialed in, and so on. So all these things can kind of be related to each other. So go ahead and score yourself on pitch from 0 to 100%, 100% being best. And you should have all these scores. So, who's feeling brave and like courageous and likes money? By show of hands. That's got their scores all done here. Okay, Gabriella. All right, let's unmute you.
Well, I don't have the
I love the great
score, but
smile. Are you feeling awkward at the moment? Okay. All right. So is this your business or you work for this business?
I work for this business.
Okay. So you're going to judge your business owner's business. All right.
Okay.
So you can pass this on to the business owner and say, hey, you've got some leaks. And he's gonna be like, well, my branding's good. And my what? Okay, I get it. But all right. So let's where would you rate where'd you rate branding?
Branding out of 10, I would say 6.
Okay, so 60% out of 100. Okay. What about the reviews and reputation?
8.
An 8? Good, pretty good reviews. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. 20% leak, still significant. Branding, 30% leak, right? Or well, 40%. I'm trying to do math here. All right, 40%. Presence, website, where would you rate that? Just guess.
60.
Okay. Okay, so 60% in American schooling. What's a 60%?
Like maybe a D?
It's a D. Yeah.
Maybe a D?
Yeah. F is 50%.
Mm-hmm.
So not amazing, but hey, it's way better than being like 10%, right?
Mm-hmm.
A horrible, awful website. Okay. Pricing, where'd you rate that?
90.
90. Okay. Do you have 3 different plans?
No, it's because it's like it's for property managers, so like it's not exactly like we lease homes or anything like that.
Got it. Okay. So
But
different.
it's like it's a tool for property managers, but we
Oh,
also we partner with them. Yeah.
okay. So you're more of like a vendor for property management companies. Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit different, but pricing still significant. So you said 80, or what'd you say?
90.
90%.
90.
All right, cool. How clearly is your personal why and the business's why and the business owner's why statement? Like, how clear are you on why they do what they do?
I would say 80%.
Okay. All right. And then on the pitch related to where'd you rate that?
80.
Okay, cool. All right. my guess is most team members are going to rate this a lot higher than the business owner would, right? We're a little bit more connected to all this stuff, and we know where the bodies lie and where everything is, right? So let's jump over to Jennifer. You want to go? Can you tell us your numbers?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Where do you think, where did you have the positioning at, branding?
That one was 80%.
80%. Okay, cool. And then the reputation.
70%.
70%. Okay. And then the website.
90.
Ooh, take our website quiz. If you get a 90, I'll be surprised. That'll be awesome. All
The
right.
worst thing I have is I have more than 5. I have 6. Otherwise, I got
Yeah.
everything. But I want to take the quiz. I do. So I'll see.
Oh, on the menu. Yeah. Take the quiz and
Yeah.
and
Okay.
see.
It's on the menu.
Okay, cool. Then pricing.
Pricing, I was at 70%.
Okay. And then purpose.
80%.
Okay. And the pitch.
I did 80 on that one too.
Okay, cool.
The purpose is 80, your pitch is 80. I don't know.
Got it. Okay. So in looking at all these, what I want you to realize is like, I want you to imagine if each of these were 100%. And if each of these were 100%, and I'm sure Michael and Rusty and probably Andrew are probably smiling on the inside thinking, if they actually went through all the DoorGrow material, they would probably have much lower scores than they realized, right? So yeah. But if you had all these dialed in 100%, what impact do you think there would be on your lead flow in stuff moving through this pipeline to grow your business? It'd be pretty significant if we can stack all of these. And sometimes it's just little tweaks and changes at each of these things and just getting them dialed in, that last 10% gives you 90% of the results and flow through. So for example, if the reputation stuff is a challenge, that can stop a ton of lead flow. That can be a massive leak. It's almost like a clamp or a clog, right? And it doesn't matter how great the rest of the stuff is. People will be like, well, people think they're terrible, and I don't care how amazing their website looks, or how, dialed in their purpose is, or how good their pitch is, because I'm never going to hear it, right? So, yeah. So we want to make sure if we can get all of these things dialed in, we want to do that before. So all of these leaks that we have going on, these are significant. We've got, like 20% to 40% here, right, of a leak, et cetera, right? We could go through all of them. And so if we can get all of those leaks dialed in, then what I found with clients is sometimes we don't even have to increase the amount of leads they're already getting. We double their close rate just by getting all of this stuff dialed in without even increasing the organic leads they're getting or doing adding other lead channels. So sometimes the problem isn't even leads at all. Like if you were getting twice as many doors as you're getting on right now, would that even be sustainable? For some companies, that's hard for them to even deal with. A lot of companies are adding maybe a door a week. That's pretty easily typical, right? And if you're adding more than that, awesome, kudos. And if you would like to, if you can handle doubling that just by getting this stuff cleaned up, your deal flow, that can be pretty significant. And so that was my intent and goal, was to showcase these blind spots. And so if this is interesting, Jennifer, would you be interested in hearing just real quick about a rapid revamp that kind of helps solve this?
I'm sure, yeah.
Okay, cool. She's like, I have to. Thanks for asking in front of everyone. All right. Okay. So I'll tell you real quick about our rapid revamp. And basically what we do is we go through and we shore up each of those 6 major leaks. That's what we do. And that's the focus. And we spend 2 weeks on each leak. And so we get them dialed in, and it is actually quite fast. Several of our clients have gone through it. We give you homework each week. There's stuff to work on. So we'll spend 2 weeks on purpose, for example, and you're going to get all these deliverables defined. We spend 2 weeks on pricing. The goal is to get your pricing revamped and defined. And that's something you'll roll out immediately then to your existing customers and make more money. And you'll be surprised. People are always nervous about that, but we tell you how to do that effectively. So we'll spend 2 weeks on each league. So in total, it takes about 12, 13 weeks, something like that. It takes about 90 days. It's about 3 months. We start this class every 90 days, every quarter. We start this class. We start it usually after the first week or so of the month. We don't start it at the beginning of the month because we know that's already crazy. So
Nope.
is
it's
that
just-
accurate?
No.
When do we start it? When's the next one start?
Every 90 days.
I know, but
So it ends in July.
yeah, but it's never on we don't start on the first of the month, is what I'm saying.
Not unless it falls on the first of the month, then we push it out to the following week.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
believe the next one will be mid to late July
Okay.
that we start.
Yeah. So we do this every 90 days. And sometimes our clients have gone through it twice because it was a little too fast. But we've got clients that get all of it dialed in. And it's very possible to do. Just depends on how busy business is. But our goal is progress over perfection as long as you're moving the business forward. So, so that's basically the rapid revamp in a nutshell. And on the after we get through it, and we're helping with the website, we're helping with you getting reviews. Like there's homework to go through in doing all this, and we have course material related to this in DoorGrow Academy, and we teach a weekly class every Tuesday at it's about to start, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have it in about 8 minutes.
8 minutes, 11
Mhm.
o'clock Central Time on Tuesday. So Sarah will teach the class, and her and I help develop this. And I've worked with some really amazing coaches to help make this really optimized so we can get people through it as fast as possible. We used to have a program called the Seed program that would take 6 months to a year to get all of this stuff cleaned up in a business. And so I've worked with some experts that how do we collapse time on this so we can help people get results even faster. So it is really fast, but it will give you a lot more money in exchange, right? It makes things a lot more effective. Then we move on after we get people through this into the growth stuff. Like how do we add doors organically and fast and quickly? And this just is kind of like sharpening the axe before we do that. It makes it a lot easier to chop down the trees. So cool. So that's basically the rapid revamp. If this is interesting to anyone that watches this recording or anybody hanging out here, or if any of our clients are like, hey, I want to restart it, totally cool. Just reach out to us. You can check us out at doorgrow.com and we can get you all the details and what it would take to do that and help stop some of those leaks. So you're making a lot more money and you then are one of the good property management companies that exist in your market. Cool. And that's basically it. Anyone have any questions about any of this? No. Okay. Then my drawings really worked. So there we go. All right. Appreciate everybody hanging out. And until next time, to our mutual growth, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.